So sit comfortably, however that might be. If you know you want to sit on a blanket, sit on a blanket and close your eyes. Lengthen up through the top of your head and shift around a little bit if you need to get very even between your sitting bones. Lengthening up through the top of your head and kind of move your hands around a little bit so you feel very good in your shoulders. And you know, that might mean you wanted to bring your hands more up your thighs, or you might want to send them down more towards your knees. And then just watch your breath really easily coming in and going out through your nose. Let your face start to soften. Let your eyes be gently closed. You can receive your breaths in a little bit deeper, not forcing the breath, but starting in the belly and then rising up through the ribs to the chest. Next exhale, allow your hands to come on out beside you, lightly touching the ground there. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our hearts. And now just let the tips of your fingers and tips of your thumbs touch, just very lightly there. So you separate your palms and really your fingers aren't touching except at the tips. And then release your right forefinger and let the finger bend so that you kind of point downward towards the ground with that right pointer finger, just that one. And just take a couple of breaths here. Just letting yourself bring your focus inward. More breath here. And then bring that tip of the right finger to touch the tip of the left pointer finger again. And then let your hands come back to meet together. Let your elbows just soften down. Let's keep our hands together and inhale them right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms right on back and down like wings. And we're going to come on forward. Flex through your feet, depends on how you're sitting. So let yourself come on forward in the way that you're comfortable to be. Keeping your back long. Once you get your hands out there, no matter how far you go, see if you can then shift your torso a little bit from side to side. Let the hands stay centered and just let the torso shift. So you come into the top of one hip and then the other, or the low back here, one side and then the other. Make your way back into center to stay with your breath for a couple of breaths. If you can let your head hang, do. If you need support for your head, use it. If you want to put a block underneath, you do. Good, and now come up enough where you can walk out over towards your right thigh. Let yourself come out over that thigh. Keep your back pretty long here. Let yourself draw your left sitting bone back a little bit. It won't be on the floor, but just think of drawing it back. And then put your right hand a little more behind you there so you can open the side stretch, using that hand to support you, letting yourself open into a side stretch here. Breathing into the left side. And then we'll turn back to face the ground. We're going to come back into center. Stay a breath at center. Get yourself comfortable there for a breath. And then we'll walk over the other direction. So again, long spine, and you may be up higher. You know, you may just barely be on your fingertips and let yourself just lengthen out over that thigh, or you might want to fold over. That is totally up to you. You know, draw that right sit bone back a little bit. Let it feel really good to find that length there in the side waist. And then put your left hand a little more behind you and open again into that side stretch. Doesn't matter how far you go. Just let yourself open up through the side body. Breathing into that right side. Good. And we're going to turn back towards that side here and walk back into center again. So one more breath here at center. And then we're going to walk ourselves on back up. Bring your hands behind you now. Remember which leg you had in front. We're going to stretch and extend our legs out. And kind of lean back, whether you come back onto fingertips or all the way back onto your palms. That's up to you. Just let yourself draw the chest forward and flex your feet. Feel the heels drawing down to the floor and back towards you a little bit so you're engaged there into your legs. Good. And then let's come on back up, sitting nice and tall. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, let's twist to our right. So with our legs long here, feel the heels still drawing downward and back towards you a little bit. Feel your belly engaging. One more inhale. And as you exhale, come on back around into center and bring your right arm on top of your left and give yourself a hug. You can head in towards eagle wrap if you want, or stay hugging. That depends on you. Let yourself just be easy. Opening up between the shoulder blades on the back. And we're going to release our arms on down and take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to twist towards our left. So bring yourself around, heels on the ground. Feel very even in your legs if you can, right? Sometimes that left leg wants to pull back further. Try to stay really even as you can. Good. One more inhale. And as you exhale back around now, bring that left arm on top of the right. Give yourself a hug. Again, you can stay right there. You may decide you want to head towards half eagle or eagle wrap, or you may not. You know, it may feel better just to be hugging yourself there. Let yourself release. Good. And then we'll bring our arms on back down beside us here. If you were cross-legged, we are going to switch the cross of the legs. So bring the other leg in front from the way you were. And let your arms come on out beside you here now. And let's inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse. And inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And let's come on forward into a seated forward bend on this side. So take your time. Ease your way. Let yourself get really comfortable. Grab blocks if you want for under your hands or forearms or your head. And now really think about your breath here. Just follow your breath easily in and out. And imagine you're totally releasing through your face. Like all around your eyes, across your forehead. Imagine the cross of your the forehead is just smoothing easily. Releasing all around your mouth and your jaw. Good. One more breath. And we're going to make our way slowly back up from here. And then just for fun, lean back a little bit. Bring your feet together here. Now, you don't have to go into anything except right here, holding like your ankles or your shins. Your knees can be up more if you're, if you're built that way in your hips. If you want to release your feet off the floor and bounce a little bit, you can. I mean, if you decide you even want to hold on to your feet in Baddha Konasana, you can. If not, don't. I mean, everybody's hips are different. Kind of just start to feel how your belly has to engage to sit like this. So you're balancing. You're using your belly, the core of the body a little bit here, the low back. Of course, you're going to feel your hips. Good. One more breath. And then we'll bring our feet on down, stretch them on out in front of us, move through your feet and your ankles a little bit before we head around to hands and knees. So whatever needs to be shaken out there, do it. Let's come on to either blanket under your hands or your knees if you need it. You know that. So if you're uncomfortable, be mindful. And then just start to flow through. And let that natural movement of the spine just happen. In other words, yes, you're going to engage. You think about your tailbone starting and move gradually up through the spine, but again, let it feel like a very natural movement. You're not forcing anything. Good. So one more finishing of the one that you're on or heading into. And then come on back to neutral spine. We'll send our right foot behind us on the floor, curl our toes under, keep the toes on the floor, and press into that heel there and engage your belly. Zip up your low belly. Good, and then float the leg up, and we're going to send the leg out beside us to the right. Now you can have the foot on the floor as high as in line with your fingertips if you want. You can have it lower if you want, but try to get your toes facing directly forward like your fingertips are, right? So that you're really letting yourself come into your inner thigh there. And if you want a little more and you shift your hips back, you keep your foot on the floor, you might get a little more in your inner thigh there. One more breath. And then bring that leg on back and put the knee down back to the floor, because we're going to put left foot behind us to curl the toes under and wake up there in the back of that leg. So again, as you're pressing equally into your hands, zip up the low belly, pubic bone to belly button. Let yourself just enjoy. Feel the whole body here though. You know, feel how you're using your arms, your shoulders. Think about your spine. Float the foot up, bring it on out to the side. Again, you can bring it up higher, more like in line with your fingertips, or you can stay lower. Full foot on the floor, toes facing forward. If, again, you want a little more, sometimes just shifting your hips back a tiny little bit will add a little increase to your inner thigh. Stretch there. Good. We're going to come on back now again with that leg on back and then knee on down. Let's shift back towards pose of a child. Let yourself, when you do, come onto your fingertips. Now remember, you don't have to have your hips all the way down towards your heels if it's not good for your knees. But lift up to your fingertips. Let your elbows hug towards each other. You can either let your head float up a little off the floor, or you can descend with the forehead down. That depends on you, how low you are too. Just let it feel good. Feel the shoulders here. Feel that openness between the shoulder blades. And feel how those muscles wrapping around underneath your arms give you that feeling of hollowing in your armpits. Good. And let's come forward to our forearms. Go ahead and clasp your hands. Send your pinky finger out. Press into your forearms. Lift your knees up. Come into a little dolphin. Now you're welcome to walk your feet in more towards your face if you want, or you can just stay back just for a breath or two. We're not going all out here. Just wake up everything again here. Be a little upside down for a couple breaths. And then we'll put our knees on back down. We're going to step our left foot forward and come into lunge. So, you know, whatever you like to use, support-wise, underneath your hands. Coming into that first lunge. Drawing your shoulders down away from your ears, lengthening out through your spine. Good. Press the feet away from each other just for fun, like you're making your mat longer with your feet. And we're going to switch legs however you prefer to do that, whether you like to step back or forward. Be aware of how you stepped, though. You're pretty much probably do the same every single time, right? So press those feet away from each other again. Draw your shoulders down. This time when we change our lunges, I want you to do the other thing than you normally do. So if you usually step backward, step forward. If you usually step forward, step backward to switch. Press those feet away from each other again. Good. And let's change the not normal way again. So switch the way you don't usually do. Everything's pretty abnormal right now, so we might as well go with it. Let's step forward and come on into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. And let your knees really bend for a second. Really feel the weight of your head. Let yourself release. You know that if you need support, put support under your hands or elbows above your knees or hands above your knees, whatever works. Don't put too much pressure into your back. And then just come on into watching your breath. Adjust however you want with your legs. Let yourself follow those breaths in and out. Allowing the backs of the legs to easily open up. Good. One more breath. And then we'll let our hands come to our hips. Press into our feet and rise on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands right down together in front of our hearts. So if you need to adjust to get into your mountain pose, do. Take your time. Let yourself start feeling that energy of the feet into the ground, like you're pressing the floor away from you a little bit with your feet. And then growing up out of those rooted feet. Thighs are going to engage upward. Tailbone drops down to reach towards between your heels or the back of your heels. And then just enjoy. Feeling that ease in the upper body, the lightness in your head. And then we'll unfold our arms right on back down beside us and inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend your knees as you come on forward into your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back wherever you want your hands to go. And we'll step the right foot back and come into lunge. And inhale, exhale into downward facing dog pose. So be mindful. Do what feels exactly right for you to do to get into your dog. You may want to walk. You may want to pick a foot up at a time. You might want to shake out a little bit with your hips. Just let it feel good, right? Feel equal through your hands as you press equally back out of your hands. Let your elbows hug towards each other. Reach back through your sitting bones and through your tailbone and enjoy the huge length in the spine in this pose. We're going to come on out towards plank. Strong plank. Engage the belly here. You bend your elbows just a little tiny, tiny bit in towards each other. And then from here, if you want to lower your knees first, do. We're going to come on down to the floor, elbows right by the ribs. From here, lift your head and your chest just a little off the floor. Don't push into your hands, really. Just let them rest on the floor there. Finding that little baby cobra. And then lower your head, chest and head back down, forehead to the floor, and bend your knees. Flex your feet there, and let your feet circle around. Circle both directions. Do your own little foot dance back there. Just let the feet go. Think about your toes too. Wiggle your toes around a little bit. It's kind of fun when you can't see them, see what they're doing. And then go ahead and put the feet all the way back down, tops of the feet on the floor, and lift up again into that little cobra. And now slide your forearms underneath you so you can come up into Sphinx Pose. Bringing your gaze just a little forward between your hands. And if that's not comfortable, you can slide your elbows down more towards your waist and not be up as high. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to come right back down, slide our hands by our chest, and come back into down dog, whether you like to go through a half or a full push-up. Totally up to you. Fingers spread wide. Really feel your hands on the floor there. And we're going to bring the right foot forward to come into lunge. You can put your left knee down or both knees down, whatever you need to do to get into that lunge. And then we'll come on back into our standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. Be mindful of your own back. If you like to release your hands to your elbows, Go for it. If you know you need support to keep your back comfortable, use it. Easy breaths. Feeling the ribs expand as you inhale. And we'll release our hands back up to our hips and press into our feet to come on up to standing. Inhaling our arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands up through the midline and then bend your elbows. Let your hands come as much behind your head as you can. So your elbows are up pretty high, right? Then see if you can look up a little bit. Feel your head, the back of your head gently coming into like your wrists or your hands, whatever's right there. Now keep the belly working. Make sure you don't tuck your tailbone up under you though, right? So the belly is engaged. One more inhale. And then as you extend the arms up long here, let yourself hug your elbows in towards your face. And then on your next exhale, bend your knees and come on forward into standing forward bend. Inhale into that nice long flat back, wherever you like your hands to be, on the floor, or your blocks, or on your shins. And we'll step the left foot back and come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog. Spreading the fingers wide, really feel your thumbs, your pinkies on the floor. And let your next inhale bring you out to plank. Once you're in plank, lift your right foot off the floor a little bit, and then bring the knee down towards the ground, flex the foot, nice and strong, and then go back to that three-legged plank with the leg long, and then put the foot down, and lift the left foot up a little, bring the knee down, flex the foot here, it's right there underneath you, and then go back to the three legs, and put the foot down. We're going to lower down, knees first if you need, elbows right by the ribs. We'll come on into a Cobra. Now you can stay in that little Cobra we did, or you can keep going if you want. Pressing up. Elbows hugging in. Just make sure you're not locking your elbows. Feel open across your chest. Good. And then we'll come all the way back down. From here, bend your knees again. And now walk the knees out towards the outer edges of your mat and let your feet come to touch each other, kind of in the middle there. Take a breath there. If you want your feet to go down towards the floor, do it. Letting your hips release there. And then come back up with the feet. Bring the knees back underneath you. Stretch your legs long. We're going to come back into down dog. Whether you go through a half or a full push-up, making your way back. Walk a little bit. Good. And we'll bring our left foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come on back into our standing forward bend. Right to the breath. Full, deep, easy breaths. Feel the breath coming in and going out. Feel the weight of your head. One more nice full deep breath. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and come on up. Inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Take a couple of breaths here. And then we're going to sit back into chair pose. Let yourself come on into chair. Keep your hands at your heart. Try to shift your weight a little more to your heels if you can, just a little bit, feeling nice and strong here. Really bringing your gaze just a little bit forward, maybe 6, 8 feet in front of you on the floor. And then send your arms up if you can, so the arms are by your ears. Turn your pinkies towards each other. Let yourself feel pretty released there, shoulders away from the ears. One more breath. And as we exhale, we're going to fold forward. Let your next inhale lengthen out your spine. And exhale, right foot back to lunge. And inhale, exhale into down dog. Let your inhale bring you to your plank. Let your exhale lower you down. And inhale into your Cobra of choice. Exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, right foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way to the top with your breath. And let your exhale carry you forward. Inhale into that long back. Exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into down dog. Inhale your way out to plank. And exhale as you lower. Inhale into your cobra. And exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to standing forward bend. Bend the knees all the way to the top of the breath. Let your exhale bring you forward. Inhale, nice long back. We're going to come to down dog. Place your hands, jump or walk. Wag your tail around a little bit. Let yourself just sort of move around in your dog. Good. Be mindful, feel those hands on the floor. Do what feels good to kind of get you even more easy in your dog. Good. And then from here, we're going to bring our left foot forward. We're coming up for warrior one. So get yourself around there with your shoulders square. Bring your hands behind you for a second. Bend your elbows and just let your right hand wrap around your left wrist, right? So you're just holding your left wrist with your right hand. Your elbows are soft, so you don't feel tension. You feel real open across your chest. Now, think of the angle of that right foot back there. Make sure your foot's on the floor. Think of your arches lifting up. Feel really good in the openness in the front of that right hip. And then just be mindful here. Come into a couple of three-part breaths. Starting in the belly and rising up. When you exhale, think of the breath coming out of the chest first. Good. And now release your hands. Let them come right to be in front of your chest. And let's move our hands up and down with our breath. But let your gaze follow your hands if you can. So when you inhale and the hands come by your face, you're going to inhale, rise up, maybe look if you can. And as you exhale, you're going to keep your gaze on your on your hands, and look back down when the hands come to your heart. So you're moving with your own breath here. And to really keep your focus on your hands, not an easy thing to do, right? So you've got to really think about staying strong in the core of the body as you focus on your hands and they happen to be moving. The next time your hands come to be in front of your heart, let them stay there. Bring your gaze forward again, and then release your arms on down beside you, and let's inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And you can stay wide or you can clasp your hands if you prefer, right? If you like the hand mudra for warrior one, go right ahead. If you prefer to keep your arms apart, go ahead and let yourself open up through the front body. Extend energy all the way out through your fingertips. Feel your feet equal in the floor. One more breath. And then let your arms slowly come on down beside you. We're going to turn sideways on our mat. Adjust for a wide-legged forward bend, how wide you are, getting those feet fairly parallel. And we're going to come on forward. Grab a block if you need one, or two. So blocks under the hands or hands on the floor. Start to bend a knee at a time. Give yourself time to adjust. Good. And then go ahead and bend the right knee. Keep it bent, but keep your left leg straight. And walk your hands over towards the left, like you're going in front of that left foot. Not all the way to the foot, but you're in front of it. And just stay there for a breath. You can let your chest melt down a little bit if that feels okay. Good. And then walk back into center. Straighten that leg out. Go ahead and bend your left one and keep your right one straight there. And we're going to walk over towards the front of the right toes. Again, you want to be in front, and you don't need to even be close. Let yourself release your chest down. Good. Now walk your hands on back into center. Bend both your knees. Let yourself get your hands right underneath you so that you look down and you've got a flat back, right? You've got your hands right under. And we're going to shift into right hand to the right hip and roll that right shoulder up. Now, Whether your knees are bent or straight now, start to press the feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. You can stretch your right arm up if you want to, or you can keep that hand down on the floor. And we'll bring that hand on back down. We're going to go to the other side. So left hand comes up to the low back, rolling that shoulder up. Press the feet away from each other. Again, if you like adding the arm up, you can. You don't need to. Especially if you get any sort of like discomfort, don't lift the arm. Good, and then we'll come on back down. Bend both knees. See if you can walk your hands back. And if that doesn't feel so good to bring them between your feet, put your elbows above your knees instead. Support yourself like that. If you're okay with your hands between your feet, and if you're okay to release the top of the head towards the ground, do it. If not, don't. And if you need to rearrange a little bit after a couple of breaths wherever you are, then do, so that you get to where you're comfortable to be staying with your breath. Accepting those breaths all the way in and all the way out. And let your breath be fairly even in length, the inhales and the exhales fairly even. Good. And now from here, we're going to walk our hands back out so we can walk back to our left foot, make our way back to lunge, and we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose. Walk to the tops of the feet a couple of times. Press into the tops of your toes just to really get your feet into a good place there. Good, and then let's come on out to plank. Now, see if you can, keep your hips up a little bit and walk through plank. Don't come to pointing the foot though. Keep the toes curled under. And just let yourself walk even kind of quickly, right? It's like bending a knee and then bending the other and then bending the other, really using your belly. Good. And then let's come down to the mat, however you choose to get there. And this time, let's do a little locust. Let your arms come down alongside you. Float on up into a little locust pose, palms face down. Feeling that back body bring you into that lift. Good, and then lower your head and your hands and your legs down. And then bend your knees again, right? Pull your heels in towards your buttocks, just with your muscles, right? You're just allowing yourself to feel the quads. And then bring your hands by your chest, come into long legs. Now you can come into a back bend here if you want. You can come into an up dog, or you can come into a cobra. You don't have to do one at all. And then we're going to come on back down to the mat, and we're going to come back to down dog, however you choose to get there. Now you're on your own. So if you want to do some vinyasas or kriyas, go for it. If you're like, no thank you, I prefer to stay in dog, or I'm going to put my knees back on the floor and do child's pose, do. Good. So let's finish off whatever one you're doing. Meet back in down dog. And we're going to bring our right foot forward to come to warrior one. So as you start to get set up with your legs, get your feet the distance apart you like, both wide and long, right? Left hand is going to encircle the right wrist. Your elbows are really soft. You're just resting, you know, the back of your hands back there. It feels really easy. And again, once you start to really feel your feet in the floor, think of that back heel fully grounded, arch lifting up of that foot. And then as you bring your gaze forward, coming into a couple of three-part breaths. So inhaling into the belly and then the ribs and the chest, exhaling out of the chest, then the ribs, then the belly. Good. And then releasing your arms. We're going to bring our hands to our heart. Again, it's that focusing on your hands if you can. Inhaling when the hands are rising up, and the exhale will carry the hands back down, so you're trying to keep your gaze on them. Again, it really changes how easy it is to be in this pose, because you've got to really use the core of the body to hold yourself here when you're moving your focus like this with your hands, right? So just take your time, and if you're like, yeah, no, I am not going to do this, don't do it. The next time you come down with your hands in front of your chest, let yourself stay there. Bring your gaze forward when you do. And then we'll unfold our arms on down beside us and inhale them out and up. Again, this is up to you whether you want to clasp your hands. Maybe you want to keep your hands apart. Let yourself come into your warrior one here. Feeling that lift through the front body. Remember, the belly is engaged. The tailbone is still reaching back on that diagonal line. Beautiful. One more breath. And then let your gaze come forward. Lower your arms on down. We're going to turn to the left side of our mat. And again, adjust yourself for your wide-legged forward bend and come on forward. Ease your way on down, either to blocks or the floor with your hands. And then go ahead and bend a knee at a time. Once you've done that, go ahead and turn your toes out a little bit and bend one knee at a time. Play with your legs turned out a little bit. So you may decide to shift to one foot and lift the heel up. You may even want to shift down with your hips more. So just let it feel good. Make sure you even yourself out. If you're doing a shift down with the hips at all, make sure you do both sides. And then when you're ready to come back to center, adjust again your feet to where they're more parallel, right? And we're going to walk over towards the right foot. And you can hold on to the outside of the ankle, or you can be in front of the foot on a block. It doesn't matter. Just stay here. Stay for a couple breaths. And then bring your right hand up to your right hip. Stay for a couple of breaths just with that. And you can decide from here if you want to roll the shoulder up and look up towards the ceiling or not. That's up to you. And then we'll release to come back down with the hand. We're going to walk back through center and go over towards the left. Again, how far you go is up to you. Stay once you get there. Just stay right where you are and just breathe. Let your body adjust. Feel how your legs feel. Feel where you're feeling the stretch the most. And then bring your left hand up, but don't do any turning or anything. Just stay right there for a breath. That changes it a little bit. And then when you do, or if you do decide to roll your shoulder up and look up at the ceiling, there's just a little bit different. So stay here for a couple of breaths. And then bring your hand on back down. We're going to come on back into center. Let both your knees bend for a second. Bring your elbows above your knees. Support yourself. Go real deep in your bend if you can with your knees. So you're getting lower and you're very long and flat in your back. Feels really good. Nice. And then just go ahead and come into your wide-legged forward bend, however is the most comfortable for you now. So if you like to grab blocks for under your head or your forearms, do it. Come to that place where you can really release into your breath. See if when you inhale, you can think the word so. And when you exhale, you think the word hum. And from here, slowly start to make your way back out. So you can walk back to that right foot to come on back into your lunge. And make your way back into your downward facing dog pose. Once you're in dog, bend your knees really deeply. Send your belly towards your thighs for a second. Hug your elbows towards each other and turn your head from side to side. So let yourself release there. And then come on back to your full dog. If you want to do vinyasas or kriyas, you may. You may come out for plank. You may not want to do back bends. You may want to move through chaturanga, or you might not want to, right? You may just decide to put your knees down. Rest in child's pose. Don't push it. Just let it feel really natural and easy. Good. And then we'll meet back in downward facing dog pose. And this time we're bringing our left foot forward for warrior two. So you have your blocks handy in case you want them. Get your line up of your heels there so you're very comfortable in your hips. When you bend that front knee, it feels like the most natural thing in the world. And just let your hands come down to your thighs for a second. And then reach your left arm forward and up overhead, right? So it's almost like you're doing a reverse warrior, but you're not leaning back. You're just bringing that arm up and letting yourself turn to look to the left. You're kind of looking to the side of that arm. Good, and now as this arm comes for warrior two, the back arm's going to float up as this left arm comes down. Let yourself just come into your warrior two arms, pressing the feet away from each other, softening your shoulders down, reaching out through your fingertips. Good, we're going to turn that left palm up now and yes, go into reverse warrior. Let yourself reach up or back, breathing into the left side. And on the exhale, come into your side angle. So your hand or your forearm onto your thigh. You can bring that right arm up or not. You know that depending on your shoulder. You can bring it into line. If you have your hand or your forearm there on your thigh, press into the thigh a little bit and draw that left shoulder really down away from your ear. Think about your head being in line with your spine. Nice. And then bring your right hand to your hip. Look down at the floor. We're going to put our left hand down for triangle. So when we straighten that left leg, you may want to use a block. You may want to use your leg. Straighten that left leg out. Get your triangle legs going here. Keep looking down at your left foot for a second. And make sure you're not rolling on it. Feel your thighs engaging upward. And then go ahead and turn your head to look towards the long edge of your mat. Stretch your right arm up into your triangle arm if you can. Thighs lifting up towards the hips. So really engaged there. One more breath. And we'll bend the left knee. We're going to come on back into warrior two from there, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. And now bring your hands behind you and clasp them, okay? Roll that right shoulder forward a little bit. And now you might just want to bow your head to fold over that front leg, or you may want to fold all the way over your inner thigh, and some of you might want to bring your arms off your back. That's totally up to you and your shoulders. Be where you can. And then we're going to release our hands down. We're going to come into lunge. So let yourself find lunge here. And then add your twist of choice, whether you bring your left hand to your low back, roll your shoulder up, stretch your arm up, or maybe you want to come into twisted prayer. Totally up to you, coming into that twist that feels good. Good, and then we'll come on back down with our hand. We're going to make our way back to down dog. Once you're here, you're on your own. What feels good? Let the body immediately do it, right? It doesn't have to be something you have planned, right? Just respond to what feels good. I mean, if your feet are sore, if you need to move through your feet, if you need to put your knees down, do it. Just take your time. Good. Finish off, and if you're doing something on two sides, get yourself evened out. And we're going to bring our right foot forward. We're coming up for warrior two on this other side. So again, getting the heels in that line, getting that front knee bent to where you're comfortable. And then as you rise your right arm up and you turn to look over kind of to the inside of that right upper arm there, remember we're just reaching straight up. So let yourself just feel your feet on the floor. And now it's just so fun to let the top arm come down and the back arm come up. So just let them float on into your warrior two arms, reaching out through the fingertips, feeling like you're reaching equally out through both sets of fingertips. Beautiful. Good alignment of that front knee. And then we'll turn the right palm up. This time we will go into reverse warrior. You can still reach straight up, or you can reach more behind yourself. One more breath. And on the exhale, we'll come into that side angle. So you know it can be your hand or your forearm on your thigh or down to the floor if you want. And you can decide about that left arm. Hand can stay on your hip, or you can bring the arm up. And again, think of the shoulders coming down. So as you press into that right hand or forearm, draw the right shoulder down away from your ear. Same thing for the left, right? Good. One more breath. Beautiful. And now, let your left hand come to your hip. Look down to the floor. We're going to straighten into pyramid here. So triangle here. So letting yourself, as you come into triangle, straighten that front leg. Keep looking down at your foot. So the tendency is always to roll to the outside. It's really, really consciously feel the four corners of that foot. Roll the left shoulder up on then, and let your hand come up, arm come up if you choose to. You don't have to. You can still keep your hand on your hip in this pose. Coming into that balance of triangle. Really finding those 3 points, the top point and the bottom two. The eyes engaging upward, lengthening out through the top of your head. Good. We're going to bend the front knee. We're going to come on back to warrior two, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. Really soften your shoulders down and bring your hands behind you, clasp them. Turn your left shoulder forward a little bit. Again, you may just want to bow. You don't have to fold all the way over the leg, right? And if you like to release your arms off your back, you can. Not necessary to do that either. And then when you're ready to release your hands down, we're finding lunge, so you might want to use blocks, you might want to use the floor. And then your twist is your twist of choice. You can bring your right hand to your low back, you can reach your right arm up, you can come into left elbow to the right knee if you want to come into twisted prayer. Good. And we're going to bring our hand on back down, making our way back into downward facing dog pose. And just for fun, see if you can, find your dog, and then on your inhale, come out to plank. You can move through for a back bend or stay in plank, but then go back into your down dog again. So see if you can inhale out to plank, maybe through for a back bend, and then come back into dog. Do 2 or 3 more of those if you can. Rather quickly. So you just inhale your way out and exhale your way back to dog. If you're like, yeah, no, I'm not doing any more of those, don't. And then you're on your own. Do what feels good. Put your knees down if you'd rather. Take your time. Good. And then finish off. Meet back in down dog. And from here, let's separate our feet on our mat and shift our hands back to walk back, either elbows above your knees, right? Maybe you prefer to do a squat where you bring your hands around the outside of your ankles and squat down that way. Or maybe you feel like you want to turn your feet out a little bit and bring your hands in front of your heart. Whatever is the most releasing for you. Just be mindful of your knees, your hips, your back. Good. And now to come up, just be mindful to get your feet right underneath your hips and let yourself get easy as you feel your feet equal in the floor. Go ahead and bring your hands up to your hips and press into your feet and come on up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And sway a little bit if you need to, but let your body just adjust its way into mountain. Once you bring your gaze forward and you know you have your pelvis aligned, it's just easy, right? And then we'll go ahead and unfold our arms on down beside us, shake out a little bit, and we're going to bring our mats into a wall. So there's plenty of wall, because somebody can come up here in Charlotte. You 3 are there. And then 2 of you back there. Somebody can come up here if they'd rather, but Charlotte has plenty of room back there. So. All right, let's get our blocks. And let's bring our highest height on our blocks under our hands and step our right foot back to the wall, warrior 3. So turning the toes down and dropping your head to actually look at your toes back there. You really got to tuck your chin to your chest, right? But then you know you've got the foot just at the right place. See if you can come to fists on your blocks, all right? So you don't have any kind of stress in your hands. Bend both your knees just a little bit. And then start to come into straighter legs if you can, right? And press into that right foot back there on the wall, like you're trying to pull it up towards the ceiling. And then just be mindful, let your left hand first come up to your thigh. So you've got your left hand on your thigh, you're pressing into that right foot. And then let the arms swing forward and look towards the front edge of your mat a little bit. Let yourself come into that warrior 3. And then bring your hand back down and put it up on your low back and start to twist towards your left, rolling that shoulder up, staying as level as you can there in your hips. Good. One more breath. And then bring that left hand on back down. Bring your right foot to the floor and cross your left ankle above your right knee into a figure 4 and bend your right knee. So you're releasing that left hip. Hopefully, it feels really good. Just breathe. And then as you uncross, all you're going to do is send that left foot right back to the wall. It's easy. And go ahead, really pull your chin towards your chest and look at your foot. That way you'll know if you're totally squared with your hips. And remember, it's that supporting leg that's pretty important. If it's too far forward or it's too far back, it just doesn't feel right. Good. Now this is up to you about bringing the right hand off the block. Again, you can be on your fist, remember, and letting it come to your thigh to lift your body up a little bit. When it's on your thigh, you straighten your back out longer, right? And then it's easier to reach forward with that hand. So lifting into that forward, looking at the front edge of your mat. There's even more of a lift there. And then bring that hand back and put it up on your low back and add that little twist. Press into the foot on the wall. Find that twist right there in the middle of the back. Stay level in your hips. Beautiful. Hello, legs. One more breath. And then release. Look down. Come on down. We're going to cross the ankle above the knee and stretch that leg out. So take your time. Let yourself release and breathe. And then when you're ready, uncross your legs, bring your feet towards the outer edges of your mat, and let yourself either shift down into another low, deep squat here, or if you'd rather keep your elbows above your knees, do. And you can squat however you want, right? Whatever feels really good for you, whether you like to turn your toes out, whether you like to stay more parallel with your feet. Let it feel good. Nice. And from here, we're down close enough, it'll be easy to come down and put our feet back towards the wall. And release for a couple of breaths in child's pose, but let your arms stay overhead in your child's pose, and see if you can go ahead and clasp your hands together and let your elbows be down on the floor, right? And just breathe. And then come up to your forearms. We're going to send our pinkies out. If we would rather separate our hands, we can for Dolphin. And then start to lift up and press the heels into the baseboard there. Remember, you don't want the balls of your feet into the baseboard. You want the balls of the feet and toes away from the baseboard a little bit. You can look at your own feet, which is kind of fun. It's very telling, you know. If you have a tendency on one foot to like let it roll more to the inside or the outside, you can tell it when it's on the wall like that. And you can walk up if you want, you know that. If you're like, I don't want to do any of this, don't do it. If you want to play being inverted with a leg or both legs up the wall, if anybody would rather turn around and do a 3-block dolphin, I'll be happy to bring you a 3rd block. Just need to wave at me and let me know if you're wanting to go up and down. And you know, if you want to decide you'd rather be on your hands, do a little handstand prep work instead of being on your forearms, go right ahead. There you go, you're welcome. So take your time, move up and down whenever you want, rest how you want. If you want to turn around and practice a little on your forearm stand, you can. But don't push it. Especially if you've been away from yoga for a bit. It's been kind of a crazy couple of weeks. Good. So if you are going to go up one more time, let yourself go up and take your time. Stay how long you want. Ready to rest. Let yourself rest for a couple of breaths. And if you've been resting, we are all heading around to sitting. So when you're ready, you can come on around to sitting and let your legs stretch on out in front of you. Take your time. You may want to sit up on a blanket. We're going to do a little forward bending. So if you know blanket is better for you, grab your blanket to put underneath you. And let's all bring our left foot into the inside of our right leg for Janu Sirsasana, right? So whether you bring the foot lower or higher, doesn't matter. If you have glitches in your hips or your knees, putting support underneath that leg can be really wise, especially when you think about coming forward if you feel anything, right? So let yourself ease your way forward with your low back, you know, keeping nice and long. And that might be an inch, right? Totally depends on how you're built. It might be an inch. You may feel like you want to reach down to your foot. Some of you might want to do a big toe hold, right? If you have that big toe, your pointer finger and middle finger are wrapped around that big toe, you can press the toe into your fingers and resist a little bit with your fingers. Or you can hold your foot. You can put your hands on the mat beside your leg if you want. Just take your time. Let yourself feel that heel of that right foot gently drawing back towards you, so you are very engaged in your hamstring here. You're not just flopping yourself over your leg, right? And then just enjoy, right? This is traditionally, the translation of this pose is nose to knee pose, but you know, really, that's hardly, for most people, it's really not a thing. If it feels good, if you come forward enough with a long back where it feels good to lower your head, then do it, but don't force it. Good, one more breath. Now as you easily come up, stay the way you are. Take a nice inhale once you're at the top. And on the exhale, twist to your left towards that bent leg. Bring yourself around. Feel that sense of just finding the twist in your back there, feeling your sitting bones drawing down. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll move back through center and go all the way into the other direction. just enjoy. One more breath. And then unwind back to center again. All we're going to do is switch our legs out. So bringing that left leg out, bringing the right foot in again. To relax onto a block if you'd like. So if your back is telling you that you need to take a little break, remember you've got all those heights of the blocks. You can use one block lowest, you can go to the second height. Rather than going to the highest height, I'd rather stack 2 blocks myself, because that to me is more comfortable, but take your time. Oh, thank you. And you know, you don't have to wait for me in bridge pose. You can stay, you can come up and down, you can be done and bring your knees into your chest if that's better for you. You can play up on the block if that feels good too. So I'm going to start to walk around, and I would love to don't rush through, but those of you who are getting ready for Shavasana or who are starting to put on socks and jackets and stuff. I'd love to bring blankets if anybody needs, or bolsters for underneath knees. If anybody thinks that sounds like a good idea, let me know. In other words, if you're not comfortable, that sort of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? Sometimes just a little bit of support goes a very long way to allowing you to find that sense of being able to really deeply relax. So whatever helps you to follow your breath. If your mind likes to have more of a focus, you can count your breaths. You can think a word or a mantra for your inhales and exhales. But really just allow the breath as it quiets to bring you with it to a quieter place over and over and over again. Give yourself these few minutes to allow your body to benefit from everything you just did. Get out of your own way by finding those little quiet places. And allow yourself to completely and fully relax. Good stuff. We forget how good.